Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Data Playbook. Today we have our Week 15 Sunday games, and unfortunately I didn't get all the changes that I wanted to in for today, but we'll just stick with our regular data, so let's get right to it. Here we're going to look at Arizona at Houston, where Houston is favored on the money line with a spread of 10.5 and a total line of 42.5. You have your team's seasonal averages, and going through their rankings, you have Arizona with a mixed offense with a scoring rank of 21, a passing rank of 3, a rushing rank of 26, and a tight end rank of 1. Their defense is much worse, though, with an allowed scoring rank of 26, allowed passing rank of 20, allowed rushing rank of 20, and allowed tight end rank of 23. With Houston, you have a little below average offense with a scoring rank of 20, a passing rank of 13, a rushing rank of 23, and a tight end rank of 20. You do have one of the better defenses, though, with an allowed scoring rank of 1, allowed passing rank of 5, allowed rushing rank of 6, and an allowed tight end rank of 5. For your quarterbacks, you have Jacoby Brissett and CJ Stroud, with Brissett averaging 16.4 fantasy points per game and Stroud averaging 14.3. I'll flip over for their seasonal averages while I go over their turnovers. With Brissett, you have 5 interceptions this season, with 3 fumbles lost due to a sack, and Stroud has 6 interceptions this season, with no other turnovers. Looking at how they impact the rushing game, you have Brissett with 10.8% of the rushing carry share and about 11.1% of the rushing yard share, and then you have Stroud with 10.4% of the rushing carry share and 15.9% of the rushing yard share. Moving into the running backs, you have Bam Knight and Woody Marks, with Knight averaging 8.5 fantasy points per game and Woody Marks averaging about 9.6. Here's your seasonal averages and the week-by-week information. And then for turnovers, you have Bam Knight with 1 rushing fumble, and Woody Marks has had no turnovers this season. Looking at their share, you have Bam Knight at 28.3% of the rushing carry share and 21.8% of the rushing yard share. As we can see, there's a lot of different people that have been involved in the running game this year, and that's because they've had a lot of injuries that they've gone through, so that's a little deceiving, as Bam Knight is now the largest, because he's had the role about the longest now. Over here, though, for Woody Marks, you have him at 52.1% of the rushing carry share and about 45.4% of the rushing yard share, with the next largest portion going to Nick Chubb, where they share quite a bit of it. For your receivers, you have Marvin Harrison still listed as out, so Michael Wilson's your number 1 receiver in Arizona, and then you have Nico Collins, with Michael Wilson averaging 11.5 fantasy points per game, and Nico Collins averaging 15.3. And then you have your seasonal numbers down here, with the only turnover also coming from Nico Collins with 1 receiving fumble this season. And we're about to go to the charts, so if you want to take a closer look at this information, go ahead and pause the video. Moving into the share, though, you have Michael Wilson with 21.2% of the target share and 22% of the receiving yard share. And then Nico Collins gets about 25.6% of the target share and 31.9% of the receiving yard share. For Nico Collins, that makes him the most productive receiver on the team. And Michael Wilson's close to that as well, except for that there's one more person that's a little larger, which I believe is the tight end, and we'll take a look at that when we get there. And then for your next up receivers, because you also have Xavier Weaver out, you have maybe Andrea Bacella, or Bacchio, or I'm not sure how to say his name, but he doesn't have very much information as well, with only averaging 1 fantasy point per game and no turnovers. But for Houston, your number 2 receiver is Jaden Higgins, averaging 7.5 fantasy points per game, with his averages here, and he has no turnovers as well. So moving into the charts, because of course you get nothing with Andre, so we'll just look at Jaden at 13.7% of the target share and 13.7% of the receiving yard share. Wrapping up with tight ends, you have Trey McBride and Dalton Schultz, with McBride averaging 18 fantasy points per game and Schultz averaging about 9.6. Here's your averages for your tight ends, as well as having no turnovers, so we're going to go to the charts, where Trey McBride gets about 28.6% of the target share and 29% of the receiving yard share, making him the most productive receiver on Arizona. And then you have Dalton Schultz at 20.9% of the target share and 20% of the receiving yard share, which I think makes him the second most productive receiver on Houston. And there's all your data for this game. The notable parts are that you have a very good defense here on Houston against a not so great offense except for in the passing rank, but you're even missing Marvin Harrison and Xavier Weaver. You do still have Michael Wilson, and as we saw, the best receiver on the team is Trey McBride. So if they can really utilize those guys against Houston, they might have a chance, but this is really strong here with its allowed scoring rank of 1. They're really good at being stingy. So really the other side of it is, can Houston score on the Cardinals? Or is it going to be a very defensively low-scoring game? It does seem like, though, that Houston should be able to score on them since you also have Arizona with not a great defense, and you have Houston at home. So this does seem to lean into Houston's favor. And there's all your pregame data. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment on what else you'd want to see in the future. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.